Yo, what's up? This is Sleep. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Manchester City's weakness in terms of the center back position and how I don't think we're prepared right now to go into the new season and how we really need to make a signing before deadline day. So for any top team in the world, if you want to win things, I think you need at least 4 good center backs, and you really need 5 decentish level center backs to compete in all of the available trophies to you every year. The 5th choice doesn't have to be the best in the world, but as long as your backups are okay, it just allows for you to have for an injury or something like that to happen during the season. And right now for me, City have a lot of reasons to be concerned. We just don't have that strong starting center back. But I'm going to start off by talking about what center backs we do have at the club and why I think it's very simple in how we need to move forward and progress. But we need 2 center backs for our starting formations, so you can have a left-sided center back and a right-sided center back. Our left-sided center back starter is Laporte. Nobody can argue with that. Laporte's one of the best center backs in the world. He's definitely the best center back at City, and he is a certified starter as long as he is fit. He is the left-sided center back. Ake was signed this year, and I think a lot of fans online, from what I've been seeing, have kind of been expecting Ake to start. If you're a rival fan, they just see the 40 million spent on Ake and they expect him to just slot in there because we needed a center back. But if you're a Man City fan, you know that he's not supposed to be the starter. Ake is very much a backup, and I think he is a good backup for both the left center back position, and he can fill in at left back, be a more defensive left back if we need. He played that position for the Netherlands recently and he did pretty well. But Ake is not the kind of player that's going to push us forward to win the Champions League. He can win us a lot of games, and I think he can do well next to somebody like Laporte. It doesn't matter that they're both left-footed. A lot of teams have played with 2 right-footed center backs, and it doesn't make any kind of big issues. So playing with 2 left-footed center backs, is not a big deal, and it's completely possible. I just don't think that they will match each other very well. Next to Laporte, we need somebody a little more commanding, fast, physical, and that's basically what we need in our starting team, is more pace at the back. And that's why we've been linked for most of the summer with Koulibaly. Koulibaly has physicality and pace, and for me, he is the standout sort of target that we have at center back, and I think City should do everything to sign him before we start looking at these other targets, which it seems like City has been starting to do in the past couple of days. For instance, if you look at 2 of the center backs that we've been linked with recently, in Giminez and then recently, very recently, Koundé, they both have issues and they don't quite fit in with what City need. For me, Giminez is a great defender. I think he would really be useful at City. He's very good at reading plays. He's very strong and commanding in the air. But Giminez himself does lack pace, and the other big issue with Giminez is how injury prone he is. He just can't stay fit enough for a whole season, and it'd be like spending so much money on somebody who you can't rely on is not the smartest idea, and it's not something City should do, especially when we've already had injury issues with our other center backs like Laporte last season. You can't sign somebody who is a known injury risk to go alongside him, because what if we lose both of them at some point during the season? Koundé, for me, he just is not good enough to play for City. He is a very, very good player, and he has high potential, and he could definitely play at City. Maybe I should reword that. He could definitely play at City, but he is not going to be that commanding, leading center back that City are in search of, and he might not even start over somebody like Stones, so I don't see the point in signing somebody for so much when he's not even that good. Now, Upamecano is very interesting to me, and I do like him a lot. He's very, very similar to Koulibaly for me. He's maybe a bit more injury prone, and I think he's an inch shorter, but in general, they're very similar players. They both like to kind of dribble out of the back. They like to play passes through the lines. They are very fast and very strong shoulder-to-shoulder type of players. But Upamecano is very young. The reason I prefer Koulibaly over somebody like that is because of who's already at City. If you look at the center backs we have now, we've got Otamendi and Stones, who are more first-team type of players. And Otamendi should be gone. He's not good enough. He's too old now, and he's too rash for me. He's always been too rash. He has had very, very good runs in the team, though, for City, so I do really appreciate Otamendi and the time he spent at City, but I just can't see him being that player again for us, and I was surprised when he was that player at all for us. And that leaves Stones as who I would want to be a backup. But Stones, to me, probably wouldn't want somebody like Upamecano starting over him, so that could cause some kind of issues in the team. But also, if we look towards the next center back in the pecking order, I think somebody like Koulibaly would massively benefit that player's career. and it would be good for City in the long run. That player I'm mentioning is Tosin Adarabioyo. If you look at Adarabioyo, he's 6'5". He is fast. He's very, very technically sound. His touch is amazing. He likes to play out from the back. He is in love with City. He's been at City since he was like 8 years old. And for me, he should be the 4th choice. I think we could get a good fee for somebody like Stones, and you could get rid of somebody like Otamendi. And maybe Stones would want to stick around and try and fight for his place, which I don't mind, because Stones on his day is one of the best center backs at playing out from the back. But ultimately, when you have somebody like Adarabioyo coming through, I don't want City to just sign him and then replace him with another young player who might not work out. Because Adarabioyo is that. He's got all of the features that you can't teach, and he could learn from somebody like Koulibaly to become a top defender. To just explain that further, like I said, he's got the height. He's 6'5". Before, when he played for City, when he was younger, he was very lanky and kind of weak looking. But now he's kind of filled his body out. His like frame is more filled, and he's much stronger looking, which like I said, you can't teach somebody how to be 6'5". He's very fast. That's something you can't teach. And he's got this composure to him at such a young age. He could just fit in right at that center back slot next to somebody like Laporte in the future. I can just see that happening. And even now, he could probably do better than some of the center backs. Definitely better than somebody like Eric Garcia, who I didn't mention before, but I also want him sold. It makes absolutely no sense to me that City would keep somebody like Garcia, who's arguably like a similar level to Adarabioyo, maybe even worse in potential-wise because of how small he is. Garcia doesn't want to play for City anymore. And Adarabioyo has said, like, months ago that he'd love to be the captain of City in the future. So I don't see why we'd sell somebody who's so desperate to be in the team when there's somebody who wants to go that you might hold on to. I just don't see why that City would do that at all. And like I said, Upamecano would kind of take the place of Adarabioyo in terms of how long he'd be in the team. If you sign somebody like Upamecano, you can get like 10 years out of him maybe in that position. So Adarabioyo would see that as like maybe he won't get a chance in the team until like Laporte retires, which isn't going to be for like another 5 to 7 years, or not retires necessarily, but leaves City, which won't be for a long time. So he's going to be like forced out of the team in that way. Personally, because I think Adarabioyo has such potential, Koulibaly makes the most sense to me because he's already in his prime. He'll be able to teach Adarabioyo a lot of things. They're both similar in terms of not necessarily height, because Adarabioyo is like 3 inches taller, but in their style of play, they're definitely similar. They're both very strong, commanding players that like to play out from the back and be composed passers. And with that experience that you could gain from playing alongside somebody in training like Koulibaly, Adarabioyo could come on leaps and bounds training with this City team. And if he's not ready now, definitely I'd loan him out. I wouldn't sell him. And if you do sell him, make sure you include a buyback clause, because he's been so good for Blackburn last year. And even when he used to play for City, I used to think he had a lot of potential in the like summer or preseason tournament type things. He would always put on a very, very good performance. Just he's a slightly weak. You'd expect a little more from somebody big like that. But now that he's gotten older, I think he has become stronger, and I think he can be that player that people thought he might be. And if this season has taught us anything, besides that our defense is terrible, is that it sucks to see players who were at City or involved in City's academy who wanted to play for the first team get pushed out, and then you see that they were probably good enough, and if not good enough to like just be in the squad like they wanted to be, good enough to start. You look at Sancho. Sancho definitely could have played in the City team. You could have saved a lot of money from a Mahrez signing just by playing Sancho, but we didn't do that. And I don't regret it, because Mahrez is a great player, and he was like our second best player last season. But you might rather have Sancho in the long run than somebody like Mahrez because of the age. And that's what I'm thinking now with links to like Upamecano and Giminez and stuff like that. Just get Koulibaly, and if you keep somebody like Adarabioyo, and Stones as well might learn a lot from somebody like Koulibaly, and over time, when Koulibaly becomes older, you might have a ready-made replacement from your academy, somebody who wants to lead from the back and be a City legend, already in your ranks. You don't need to go out and spend so much money on somebody else. The season starts in a couple of days, and I'm honestly just worried because we're playing Wolves, a team that is able to cause a lot of damage to City's backline, and we just haven't replaced Kompany since he's left. And now Laporte is said to be unfit by Guardiola for that next game. I think we're going to struggle a lot against Wolves. Like, Walker will be decent. I think Cancelo might start at left back. I'll do a preview for that game. But ultimately, we're going to be not having Laporte, so probably Ake playing alongside somebody like Stones. If City had just gone ahead and paid the money for Koulibaly, we wouldn't be in this position. I don't think I'd be as nervous for the new season, and I don't think fans in general would be as nervous for these coming games. And if the rumors are true, and maybe these other rumors are false about the other players City have been linked with, if we are to get Koulibaly and it's in another 2 or 3 weeks, we might have played 2 to 3 Premier League games by then already. And potentially, if we're not careful, if you lose these games because your defense is poor and you could have made that signing, you don't want to end up like 6 to 9 points behind Liverpool right at the start of the year, because you're not going to catch them. At the very least, you're very unlikely to catch them, and it would have been preventable because we know that we need a center back and we just haven't signed one. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on City center back issue right now, how we need a replacement for Kompany, and what my dream scenario is for how City handle it for the coming season. Tomorrow, I'm going to probably have a video out on one of the games, Premier League games that happens, and on Sunday for sure I'm going to have a preview for the City game, and then on Monday I'll do a match reaction right after. Watch all the way through, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video at all, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more soccer related content. I mostly focus on Manchester City because I'm a City fan, but I do like to talk about a lot of just general things in the football or soccer world, so subscribe if you want to see me talk about those things. Anyways, that's it for today. This has been Sleet. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.